In this section, in this particular chapter, a very difficult pastime is being explained. Difficult in the sense that Lord's own family. Now, what do you expect? These were the devotees. These were the people. These were the personalities who on a daily basis they lived with Krishna on a daily basis. So they will see him in the morning, they will see him in the afternoon, they will see him in the night. They were constantly associating with the Lord. So and if we hear about this particular pastime that they all got drunk and they fought with each other and they killed each other. So it is very, it's a very bewildering and a very strange incident or a very strange pastime. So that's why, it used to be fascinating for me also that how has this come about, and we see that before the pastime began, there is so much of explanation given by the acharyas just to bring out this point. It is not, sometimes you see that if you look in the previous chapters of the end of 10th canto, maybe one or two verses were there and then the pastime began. Lord Shiva's pastime, another pastime, they just began. But here you see there are many verses which are describing that why this pastime, why this incident came about. And it is also fascinating. We also, it is also very. Shut it. So it was very fascinating that if you look into this section, the thoughts of the Lord are described. So it is not just the words of the Lord which are recorded. Now when we say about the Vedas and we talk about the scriptures, we say the word of God. Like you see Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a record of the conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. So it is what the Lord spoke, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha and Arjuna Uvacha. And here we see that what the Lord is thinking, even what Lord is thinking, like what you are thinking, I don't know. But what Lord is thinking, without Him revealing, we cannot know. So here you see that what Lord is thinking internally, it is being described here. So why this is very fascinating is that we can understand how the Supreme Lord functions, how His mind functions. I mean, His mind and He is non-different, but how He thinks about different things. So it gives us a very intimate internal view of the Lord. So that way it gives us a very fascinating perspective on the Lord. To understand Him more, what He is thinking of. So here, now what is being described here is about the Yadu dynasty. Now we understand from Bhagavad Gita what is explicitly stated in Bhagavad Gita. What is the purpose of Lord's appearance? So, Vinashayacha Dushkritam. Apart from protecting devotees, also Vinashayacha Dushkritam. So we saw that Lord came and right from the beginning of His childhood, He killed many demons. Right? We had Shaktasur, and then we had Putna, and many demons He killed when He was a baby, and then little grown up. And then He killed more demons when He went to Mathura, and then He killed continued that, and then finally he organized a major destruction session, where Mahabharat, where all the demonic kings from all over the place, they came. The demons, the demoniac forces from all over the planet came. Actually, that is described in the beginning of the 10th canto. If we see the beginning of the 10th canto, Mother Earth is so much burdened, and she goes to Brahma, and then finally Brahma, Lord Shiva, and all the devatas along with Mother Cow, or representing Earth, they all go to Kshir Sagar, and they are praying to the Lord that you please relieve me of my burden. So then Lord came and destroyed. So Mahabharata was actually the essence or the end of the Lord's the request made. So Lord had fulfilled the request by Mahabharata war. And here what is described is that Lord is still thinking that the Yadu dynasty, they are surrendered to me. They are my devotees, and therefore nobody can destroy them or nobody can bring them harm because they are protected by my arms. Krishna used that word, they are protected by my arms. So who can, if Krishna wants to protect someone, who can destroy them? So therefore they were the most powerful clan, right? The Yadu dynasty was the most powerful clan. And here it's very nicely stated, Vishnu Jagadish Thakur is saying that what to harm them, nobody could even insult them. That was their position, right? And they were the most opulent clan in the entire universe. So that kind of clan, who can destroy it? So nobody had the power to destroy them. So the only possibility is that they can destroy themselves. So nobody could destroy, and Lord also, it will appear very inappropriate for Lord to kill them. Like Lord killed so many demons, so it will be very inappropriate because Lord does not kill his devotees. Right? So nobody could kill them, nor the Lord could kill them. So what is the other option? So there was no option actually. The only option which existed was that there is a huge friction between the family, and the whole family is destroyed. They killed each other. And so one more beautiful point which is being stated here is that our usual understanding is that anybody who associates with the Lord very closely, they are we should not make a mistake. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is pointing out a very important, significant point for us, and this is further elaborated in the next verse also, that we must always understand that Lord is Lord and everybody else is Jiva Tattva, right? I mean, we have energy of the Lord also, internal energy, external energy, but when we are talking about living entities, we are talking about Jiva Tattva. So we must always understand that there is a very clear distinction between the Lord and living entities. So if you look at Yadu dynasty, they were also living entities. They were all Jiva Tattva. So only a Mayavadi would make a mistake to consider them at the same level as the Supreme Lord. And if you see in this pastime, which will of course come in the next verse also, that even despite being the personal associates of the Lord, great devotees of the Lord, Yadus were they were all, eternal associates of the Lord. They were not ordinary people. But still, they had to incur the wrath of the Brahmanas. Right? So the Lord showed by this whole incident also that even the personal associates, personal family members, they are personal family members of the Lord, but still Lord is Lord and they are living entities. So that's why Lord could create such a war, and they all were killed. They killed each other. So this is what the verse is talking about. Is there any questions or comments? Apparently, yes. They were all, because nobody did exist apart from the Pandavas by the end of the war. And this Narayana army was all Chaturbhuj. Huh? They were all Chaturbhuj. They came for the war. Sorry? Yes. You're talking Brahmana's curse. Gandhari's curse. That could also be seen as an arrangement of the Lord. That could also be seen as an arrangement of the Lord. Can we understand? I mean, if you look at the last several chapters describing the residents of Dwarka, forget about, I mean, just keep Gandhari's perspective at a distance of his curse, her curse. Let's not consider this point in time. Just consider the Yadavas. If you look at the many chapters describing the Yadavas or the Yadu dynasty, you will see that they always had so much of regard and respect for the Brahmanas. Right? They always worshipped them, and they always offered so much of regard and respect for them. So how can you expect for such a family? They were not ordinary people. They were all devotees of the Lord, and devotees of the Lord very well know that Brahmanas are very dear to the Lord and they have to be respected and worshipped. So how do you expect them to offend Brahmanas like that and to joke with them? That is not ordinary, right? They are not like you and me, that we follow Vaishnava etiquette for some time and then sometime we don't follow. So they are all eternal associates. They are all fixed up in their Vaishnava qualities. But despite being fixed up in those Vaishnava qualities, they offended the Brahmanas. How is it possible? And that is why if you see in this chapter also, when the Brahmanas cursed, there was a huge, everybody was in turmoil. Everybody was very fearful. Okay, now the whole clan will be finished. But still the Lord accepted that and did not counteract it. Now it is mentioned that Yadu dynasty was protected by the Lord, so nobody could harm him. But here the Brahmana curse was there. So Lord, if Lord wanted, he could have counteracted that curse. But he did not counteract, because it was according to his arrangement. So sometimes, I mean, there are many things that we can learn from this. So one more thing that we can learn from this is that if something happens in the lives of devotees, especially exalted personalities, very advanced devotees, if something happens in their lives, what do we understand? We accept that as an arrangement of the Lord. We don't see it as a fault on their part. We don't see it as a reaction of their previous actions. We don't see it as a result of karma, right? Or any fault on their part. We see it as an arrangement of the Lord. And then everything is very naturally resolved. Lord gives test to everyone. To all his not only exalted devotees, he gives test to you, people like you and me also. So that way we see their exalted Vaishnava qualities, that they already had that much of respect. They did that. They acted in a very foolish manner, apparently. They were not grave in their dealings with the Brahmanas, and they joked with them and made fun of them. But at the same time, as you said, they immediately realized, and they did not counteract. Yes. But as far as the tests are concerned, if a child is in class 1, they get test according to their abilities. And if somebody is in graduation, they get test according to their abilities. So the Lord gives the test, and Lord gives the capability and ability also to cross that test. So that is also there. No? Sorry? Sorry? Yeah, that is what Prabhuji's first question was, that Narayani Sena was there, no? Yeah. But there is no description. At the end, whom do we have surviving? We had basically the Pandavas surviving. We didn't have the description of the Narayani Sena surviving the end of war. So I don't know. They participated but there is no description of them being present at the end of the war. Yeah. What this particular section represents is a general principle that the associates of the Lord, they are protected personally by the Supreme Lord, so nobody can destroy them. There is no outside force. It is mentioned two things. One, any outsider and even the Devatas cannot destroy, because they are personally protected by the Lord. Actually, we can see the same principle within ISKCON also. If we see ISKCON as an institution, what does it represent? ISKCON as an institution represents what? It represents the pure devotional service. This is what? Bona fide pure devotional service. This is what ISKCON represents. And we see that this institution comes directly in the line of bona fide acharyas, starting from the Lord, right? So therefore, anybody who takes up the teachings which are given in ISKCON by Srila Prabhupada, and he practices them, so there is no destruction which can come about to him. So actually there is no way that this institution can be harmed by any outsider. What is the only danger that we have? Internal danger only is there. That is very instructive for us to also understand. When Srila Prabhupada towards his manifested pastime, when Prabhupada asked very famously, so how can how would you express your love towards me? What did Prabhupada say? By how you cooperate among yourselves, right? So if devotees cooperate, then there is no power in this entire cosmos, in this entire universe, which can bring any kind of harm to this institution, to ISKCON. The only damage that we can do is by internally fighting. That's the only damage. That's the only way some damage can be brought to this institution. Otherwise, there is no possibility of it getting. If you look at the early development, there were so many countries where ISKCON devotees were persecuted. We have Russia, and we have there is a place called Armenia. There also there were devotees, and one day suddenly few vehicles came, and masked men, they came and they had weapons, and they beat devotees so badly, they were bleeding so much, they did. But now we have still devotees are there. Those those gundas came, bait and went off, but devotees are still there. So there is no outside force. If you look at Russia, so much persecution was there, but now there are so many Russian devotees all over the place. So the only concern that we have is that we practice properly and we act according to the Vaishnava principles, then ISKCON will only flourish. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंद।